time now to our discussion zone. And, well, it's going to be very interesting because this particular conversation has been there for ages now. Okay, so a vaccine against malaria has been shown to be highly effective in trials in Africa, holding out the real possibility of slashing the death toll of a disease that kills 400,000, mostly small children every year. Worrying, I must admit. Now, the vaccine developed by scientists at the Jenner Institute of Oxford University showed up to 77% efficacy in a trial of 450 children in Burkina Faso over a period of 12 months. That's 1 year. Now, the hunt for a malaria vaccine has been going on the best part of a century. One, the Mosquirix, yeah. Now, the Mosquirix vaccine developed by GlaxoSmithKline has been through lengthy clinical trials, but is only partially effective, preventing 39% of malaria cases and 29% of severe malaria cases among small children in Africa over 4 years. It is being piloted by the World Health Organization in parts of Kenya, Ghana, and Malawi. However, the Oxford vaccine is the first to meet the World Health Organization goal of 75% efficacy against the mosquito-borne parasite disease. Larger trials are now beginning, involving 4,800 children in 4 countries. Well, before I proceed with what I have here, let me bring in my colleagues Epe, Mami, and Hafiz. Let me start with Hafiz. Hafiz,
Very.
you gave me a thumbs up for playing Lucky Dubé.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I'm a huge fan.
You are?
Yeah.
Great. I don't only just need a thumbs up. I deserve more than that because I actually made your day today.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, that's a conversation for another time. But let's touch base with the matter today. Malaria.
Yeah.
There seems to be some progress in getting that, the remedy finally for malaria. Just as one would say, COVID just came day before yesterday, and we are fighting to get COVID vaccine. Why not malaria? That has been here for years and all of that. But there's been some development with Jenner Institute of Oxford University, and of course the trials that they actually did in Burkina Faso, proven progressing and promising.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Starting with when you talk about the vaccine for malaria, I think it is a game changer in the
Right.
fight against the disease. It's a complete game changer, I
Right.
must admit. But then, given malaria has often been treated like a third world problem, definitely this is a game changer because, don't take my word for it. It's something the World Health Organization has said countless number of times
Yeah.
because there hasn't been a lot of investments. So a lot
That's
of the
very
time we are
sad.
not seeing it. The vaccine development process go on as quick as we would have hoped. But thankfully, there's some good news to that. Because, yes, this is a disease that kills a child every 2 minutes. We are talking about some 409,000 deaths in 2019 alone. And of that figure, we are talking 94% of that figure was from Africa.
Yeah.
So that's very worrying. And talk of a vaccine is something we rightfully have to be excited about.
Right.
But speaking of vaccines, it's not the first time the talk of a vaccine has been mooted. Now, there's one called Mosquirix, which was
Yeah.
developed in 2015.
Yeah.
Yes, and with Mosquirix, I think that had an efficacy rate of about 39%.
39. Yeah.
Yes, and the institute that was pioneering that, the GSK, took 30 years in the making of
30
that.
years.
Yes,
Just to get that 39% efficacy.
39%.
And if there's 77%, that's like victory.
Good. So now
Wow.
we are talking about R21, the new one. It's called R21,
Yeah.
which is already showing 77%, and that's promising. And we are very excited, and justifiably so. But then I'm not trying to be a party pooper. I'm not trying to dumping the whole excitement surrounding it. But I think in our excitement we need to be measured as well.
Yeah.
Yes, it is good.
Exercise cautious, huh?
Yes, we should be cautiously excited.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's still the early stages yet. Now, looking at R21, let's look at the pros or the good things about R21. Now, if you take R21, the vaccine, now the goal, like you mentioned,
Mm.
by the World Health Organization,
Right.
was to make a vaccine available by 2030
Yep.
that had at least 75% efficacy.
Efficacy.
2030. Now, it's 2021,
Mm.
and we are talking about some
77.
vaccine that has what? That is showing promise of 77.
Yeah.
I mean,
You've
per my
exceed.
schedule, I think we are
You've exceeded the target, huh?
we are ahead of schedule, if you
Mm.
ask me.
Yeah.
So, so
Right.
that's good
Mm.
in the fight. Now, the thing about R21 is that now with vaccines, vaccines are usually administered with a chemical known
Right.
as an adjuvant.
Okay.
Now, with an adjuvant, what an adjuvant does is that it boosts the immune response. That's what it does in the vaccine.
Okay.
Now, with R21, what is being given now? With R21, the fact is that making an adjuvant is easy.
Okay.
Yes. So it has raised hopes of the fact that when it finally makes it into large scale production,
Okay.
it could be cheap. So that's actually good.
Mm.
So we are not just talking about a vaccine, but something that could be potentially accessible to everyone.
To everybody.
So
Right.
that's good when you're talking about R21. Now, let's look at the reasons why I'm saying we should be measured in the excitement.
Okay.
Now, if you take the efficacy threshold of 77%
Okay.
that is talked about,
Mm.
now, per the reports you mentioned, this is just the phase 2 of trials.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And we are talking about participants or test subjects that were about 450,
Yeah.
just phase 2. And we are seeing 77%.
Mm.
Now, in the next phase, that's where it gets interesting because we are talking about phase 3, and phase 3, they are looking to cover about 5,000
Mm-hmm.
spread across what? How many countries did you mention?
Four
Four countries
countries
in
yes.
Africa.
Mm. Mm.
Now, the thing about studies is that when you scale up studies, like, the threshold of efficacy sometimes reduces.
Right.
Yes, so that's what I'm saying. We should be excited.
Yeah.
We should be measured. And
Mm.
here are the reasons why when you scale up,
Mm.
sometimes it reduces. Now, one, we are looking at a study. Now, this study was conducted where? In Burkina Faso.
Yeah.
Now, Burkina Faso is plagued by malaria for just the 6 months of every year.
Mm.
The other 6 months is predominantly not so
Yeah.
malaria prone.
Yeah. Mm.
I don't know if you get me.
Right.
So, and this is a study that was conducted for a whole year. So it's still not, it's they still don't understand how it operates in the other 6 months.
Okay.
So what happens in the other? Because you see, we are talking about seasonal malaria in Burkina Faso.
Mm.
In other parts of Africa, they are prone to malaria throughout the year.
Okay.
So how does this vaccine react in those conditions? It's still unknown yet.
Mm.
So that's why we're talking about spreading it and everything. So affecting the efficacy threshold.
Right.
Now, another factor that is also going to affect it is that you see, it is not certain how it works against. Are we talking about a single species or all the species of malaria parasites?
Right.
Yes, because if you take once again Burkina Faso where it is conducted. So if you talk Burkina Faso, we are talking West Africa,
Okay.
Ghana included.
Mm.
Now the parasites here, there's one parasite we are talking about, the Plasmodium vivax.
Mm-hmm.
That is almost not present in West Africa. Yes.
Okay.
So, and it's predominantly present in around the Horn of Africa, and we are talking Ethiopia,
Ethiopia.
Somalia,
Yeah.
that region thereabout.
Yeah.
Okay, so how this vaccine reacts there against this type of parasite, we still
It's
don't
not
know.
known. Yeah.
So there are still a lot of unknowns, but then a win is still a win, no matter how small it is. Anyway, so
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the conversation here is about the new development with regards to vaccines for malaria, which has proven 77% efficacy, and this is developed by the Jenner Institute of Oxford in the UK, and trials have been made in Burkina Faso, and it's proving to be very promising. But then again, like my colleague made mention of, this is just Burkina Faso, and looking at the time that malaria itself is more a problem is more of like a 6 months period. So that is still unknown. Now, we take it also to other regions of Africa, such as the eastern parts, as he mentioned, Somalia, Ethiopia, and everything. So there are certain differences in terms of, the parasites and what have you there. So that is also yet to be established as if this particular R21 can meet that same efficacy there. Because don't forget, the World Health Organization is talking about 75% efficacy by 2030. Here we are, 2021, we have 77%. So we still don't know yet, as he said. Measure your excitement. In as much as I'll always be an African man. The excitement will always come. I'll just have to show it as I have to. Yeah. So let me get to my colleague Epi, and let's hear what she has to say on this particular development, which I would say, Oseye. Yeah, Epi. Right.
Very.
Mm-hmm.
So we're excited. RT21 is here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a good thing.
Yep.
Meeting that percentage is good. But like Hafiz said, what's the guarantee? You just tested it in a place that is not compared to other parts of Africa where there's malaria throughout.
Yeah.
I mean, how sure are you that if you bring it to these parts of Africa, it's going to work? And I believe there was the RTSS, and that's also a malaria vaccine that reached more than 650,000 children here in Ghana, in Kenya, and Malawi. And it was like through a groundbreaking program. So we know that was working. But then it's not as effective as they want it to be. What's the difference between both of them? And what's the guarantee that is actually going to stand?
Well, the difference
Yeah.
here is that was
This, that
39% efficacy, and this is 77% efficacy. So clearly,
for a small sample from one country.
well, yeah, yes.
That's the second stage. So
Yeah, but how about the sampling that could be done from different? Because you know, when it comes to Africa, there are different parts of
that's what I'm saying,
Africa.
there are stages. So this is just the second stage. So there's
So we should hope that in the
exactly,
third or
but
fourth
we are just
stage
being
they'll go
excited
to
about
different.
how promising this
far,
is looking.
yeah.
So, so
But with the
Okay.
ones that was done in Malawi, Ghana, and where again?
Kenya.
Kenya. That was all three stages. I want to believe.
there was one that got an efficacy threshold of about 55.
55%. Yeah, I think I chanced up on that
Yes.
article
Yeah.
as well. But that's after all three stages.
Yes.
But this is just the second stage, and it has proven 77%. We hope it doesn't drop on the first stage.
That's what I'm saying. Once
Yeah.
the numbers increase,
Yeah, maybe.
chances are sometimes.
Yeah,
they
and even
lose because of the
with
factors.
some of the articles, the test subjects in Burkina Faso, out of the numbers, there are some that didn't really respond well to the vaccine at that second step. But the numbers are very few, very,
That is
very small as
expected.
compared to, yeah. But Epi, continue.
Yeah, but the case I'm making is the fact. Yes, it's a good thing. We've come up with the vaccine. I probably would have been super excited if the source of it were probably a bit different.
Okay.
Super excited, but then also, yes, we're still having vaccines coming in. We're already having to deal with the COVID-19 vaccine.
Yeah.
I especially am not happy with the fact that we had some of them expire and go bad here in our base
Well-
Ghana, to the point that they had to actually do away with some of them.
Yeah, but World Health Organization, I think, has actually issued out not to, dispose the said expired vaccines because we don't know yet if they are or not. But anyway.
I believe that it would be great if such things are actually being
Done here.
done here,
on the
because
continent,
then we
right.
actually know what we're experiencing. We know what we're going through, so it's actually coming from a source. But when you are actually having it being done from the outside
Right.
to this place, then it's more like I can do it, but you're on the surface level of it. We're digging deeper. We're doing it from an external source, not from an internal source. And nothing beats when you're actually doing it yourself. Because then I'm sure if we're doing it for ourselves, or
Yeah.
should the AU be championing this?
Okay.
I believe that the samples could Hafiz, please don't say anything. Don't say anything.
Okay.
Should the AU be championing this themselves?
Yeah.
I believe that proper stuff would have been, in the sense that they'll take into consideration the people, the genes, the type. I don't think I can probably bear the heat or the sun that we have in certain parts of Africa.
Okay.
And it varies. We were able to adapt in different ways. So for
Okay.
a vaccine to make, it's good. But then who is making it?
Well,
How is it working for us?
That conversation, it always brings us back to the same old answer. There's a lot. I mean,
I know there's a lot
There's
going
a-
in there. And yes,
Yeah.
we're happy.
because not to cut you, but you remember we spoke to the boss, the head of what do you call it, Noguchi, and one of the problem here is resource. To be able to come up with such a thing is no joke. You'd need, I mean, you need that resource, and trust me.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
the 30 years for the other one,
The other,
GSK,
yeah.
yes, for Mosquirix. Now the thing, they took 30 years. Now, if you follow vaccines and how it is,
Developed and all.
developed, it's no joke. Some could last in the trial stage for up to 10 years because it has to be tested. The side effects and
That
everything.
explains why people are still,
I don't know if you get me. So
have
that's why
issues
when
with,
COVID
COVID.
vaccine popped up, people were like, no, this is too.
Yeah.
I don't know if you get me.
Yeah.
But you see, the difference with COVID is that we were in an emergency. So
Yeah, something had to
all
be
the
done.
bureaucratic processes, all the red tape that involves going through these stages,
Had
a
to
lot
be
of them
put
were
aside.
taken out.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
besides, there was a lot of investment. We are talking about so much money. AstraZeneca, like I mentioned, the Pfizer one, the
Yeah,
BioNTech,
yeah,
they got
yeah.
about €500 million. AstraZeneca got about €1.5 billion.
Now we need that.
Moderna got €2 billion, over €2 billion.
We
So
need that
that's-
money to do that. Can you guarantee that we get that and do it right here? But anyway, why are you stuck?
No, I'm not stuck, but I'm still thinking of the fact that all that money that has been put into it for it to work. Malaria is something that has been plaguing Africa. I know be today.
Exactly. So
And
it's-
talking
It's not
about, anyway,
today.
well, mommy is itchy to get here. But let me just land on that. It says that no malaria vaccine is yet to be authorized for use, though the idea of controlling malaria by vaccination has been around for a long time. Now, the first scientific report was from Algiers in Algeria. Guess the year, 1910. 1910. Clinical trials began in 1940. Well, in the 1940s.
30 years later.
Got serious from the 1980s onwards, and today, well,
And today, what happened?
and today will be history till tomorrow. And today over 140 malaria vaccine candidates have been tested in humans, and none has progressed to approval and development. 1910 started in Algiers here in Africa. So anyway, Epi, let me just put you on hold there and bring in Mommy. Mommy,
Barry,
you had issues with Epi, yeah?
I don't have issues with her, but Epi and championing the let's do it with ourselves. Let's do it ourselves.
Look, nobody
cause.
wants that better
Nobody
than we
does
do,
it.
I think.
No, everybody wants
Oh, yeah.
it. But here's a situation where we've been dealing with malaria since time immemorial, since before the white man came to Africa.
That's one of the things why she mentioned that it drove them where? From where?
Yeah, they used to call Africa the white man's grave.
It took them, most of them,
Yeah.
it took them to the east part because the types of mosquitoes we have here were different and the types they had there were different.
Right.
So it's like if we had wanted to do something about it, and we could have,
We
we
could have
would
done it.
have.
Yeah.
And here's a situation where we're always talking about we are independent and this and that, but in the long run, we end up running back to get stuff from the people
Yeah.
who we claim to be independent from.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's a good thing that the vaccine is coming from somewhere, but it is something that we need.
Yeah.
And since, like, quotes unquote, we do not have the resources, the money,
Yeah.
the labor, and everything else,
The human resource and all of that. Yeah.
we just have to
So
take
should-
it as
should-
it is
yeah.
given to us. I mean, we could try
Mhm.
and test it to the best of our abilities here, but even with that, do we have the resources to do that?
Nope, we don't. Nope, we don't. And if this proves to be so, 77% efficacy after the third trial, not just in Burkina Faso alone, but in other African countries and Sub-Saharan and Eastern Africa and all of that, why not? We will definitely look out for it. Yeah.
So I'm looking at a report here by malariavaccine.org,
Okay.
and then they are giving some reasons why we need a vaccine. So firstly, they're saying a vaccine will help close the gap left by these interventions. And the interventions include the distribution of bed nets, the promotion of indoor spraying, and the development of new medicines and insecticides. I
Right.
mean, I remember a time where the distribution of bed nets was happening constantly, frequently. But these days, you don't see it. Because somebody has put it under their desk in the hospital, and they're either selling it to people or they're giving it to people they know.
Yeah.
Now the next point is malaria routinely develops resistance to drugs. Mosquitoes routinely develop resistance to insecticides.
Right.
And that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
Because I have mosquitoes in my bedroom. that I have sprayed and sprayed and sprayed.
Countless times, huh? And they're
You
still
should see
there.
me during the
Dealing with mosquitoes can be very,
It's
yeah.
Theory.
I don't want to hear it.
Okay.
Anyway, let it be.
And then they say from smallpox to polio to whooping cough,
Okay.
vaccines have offered a cost-effective and efficacious means
Okay.
of preventing disease and death.
Mm.
So even a modestly efficacious malaria vaccine could prevent hundreds of thousands of people from disease each year.
Right. Right.
So a vaccine is actually something that we need.
Mm.
And we are hoping in the third stage,
Mm.
they move it from Burkina Faso, where
Mhm.
malaria is monthly or is seasonally,
Every 6
seasonally,
months. Yeah.
and then bring it to a place where we see malaria all year round.
Yeah.
Because malaria is something we don't actually talk about, but it's something that is actually
yeah.
happening, especially in a country where we get malaria.
Mhm.
We take the drugs for like 2 days, 3 days. I feel fine. I don't complete the treatment.
Right. Right.
Then before you know it,
Mhm.
I've got malaria. Like let's say 3 or 4
A
times
relapse
in a
of
year.
malaria
And
and all.
then
Mm.
the malaria that I didn't completely treat
Mm.
has built up, and before you know it, I have
It's something
malaria
else.
7 pluses.
Yeah.
And when you get 7 pluses of malaria,
That's terrible. That's like your feet away or meters away from the the.
a friend of mine got it when we were in SS, right?
Mm.
And she took like 10 drips in a day.
Well.
So
My-
we're grateful
my-
that a vaccine has
You've
come.
had one before. My grandma says when you don't treat them, they run and hide in your liver. That's what she said. I don't know which scientific thing proved that, but that's what she said. Wow, that's how bad it can be. But yeah, thank you, Maud, for sharing. And yeah, the show is Africa Daily on Africa Global Radio. The prospects of a malaria vaccine is what we're talking about today. And if that proves to be the way it is, if the status quo remains like this till the third trial, and not just in Burkina Faso, but of course in other African countries, just like the other, what's the company name? What's the name of that company that did the 30-year-old
Jeski.
Jiski, as they did in Ghana, Malawi, and Kenya? We hope to see this particular one as well by Jenner Institute of Oxford University do similar tests in other African countries as well. And let's see. I wonder why they chose Burkina Faso, but hey, only God knows. But yeah, Hafiz.
Oh, Burkina Faso.
Mm.
You're asking why they chose it. Well, West Africa.
Yeah.
And it's almost similar to what was done by J&J regarding the COVID vaccine.
Right.
They needed to test their vaccine against a strain, the SA strain. And
Yeah.
yes. So if you're talking about malaria,
Mm.
I think West Africa is the mecca of malaria. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's weird using mecca in that sense, but
Right.
but that's it there. But she spoke about how there hasn't been much effort. If you look in the time span between the periods of 2000 and 2015, mortality rates regarding malaria dropped to about 57% on the continent.
Right.
So because of the malaria control program, then it was very intensive. But these days, it's taking there's a stunted turn to events and everything. But on the continent, there's one country actually getting things right in the fight against malaria.
Right.
One country. Take a guess.
Rwanda.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Anyway, so Rwanda, here are some numbers from the Rwanda Biomedical Center as to how they are doing in terms of the fight against malaria. Now, they recorded a drop in malaria from 400 per thousand in 2016 to 148 per thousand in 2020.
Wow.
Yes. Now, here's another one. Now, they recorded a decrease in malaria cases from 4.8 million in 2017 to 1.8 million in 2020.
Yeah. Now that
Now,
that
I have more. Now, they also recorded a decrease in severe malaria from 18,000 in 2016 to 3,000 in 2020.
wow, 18,000 to 3,000.
Now, here's where it gets interesting, the final one. Now, they also recorded a decrease in deaths from 700 in 2016 to 148 deaths in 2020.
From 700 to 100, over
Yes.
600
Yes, so
difference. Wow.
it's obvious we need to take a page from the Rwanda book.
You know what I'm thinking? You know what I'm thinking? I just think there should be that partnership. That what did you do? What are we gonna do? How can we partner? Because at the end of the day, Rwanda, yes, independent country, sovereign country in Africa, but it's still the whole
No, but even with
thing.
these fears, some would sit and say, well, it's an authoritarian regime, they control the numbers, so
So
I'm
they
not
can put out any
exactly.
number out
So,
there.
but that's another conversation.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I know, right? But I think should we come together with our resource and the doctor I spoke to, the doctor in Dr. Santos, the one I spoke to in Ireland, the Angolan, he talked about how that togetherness, that putting together heads, would be a much of a success in finding solutions to some of these things.
the reason we are, look, you see health, security, it needs a lot of cooperation.
Yes, 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 yes.
Because, I mean, if you're busy studying one stage of a disease or a situation,
Yeah.
you probably have someone that has been through it before.
Yeah,
And
and
you would
wouldn't
save yourself
need
a lot
to
of
do that,
time
yeah,
to
that
read up the notes
repetition
and
again,
everything.
yes,
And
yes.
probably develop on what they have.
And that can be done through,
That's all it is.
Mm.
So we've seen, especially with COVID, what we've seen across the globe.
Right.
Everyone pitching in. I mean, that sort of togetherness I've never seen before in a large scale. And we are talking about a vaccine in the shortest possible time.
Yep.
That's what malaria should have done to the
Needs,
continent.
yes, yes.
Or that's what we
Totally
needed.
agree.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm.
In terms of investment, you mentioned one organization, EPI. So that's what we needed.
Your best friends.
Why
Men-
people laugh?
you know the
What are
organi-
people doing?
No, you know
His
what-
best friends.
did I say?
Your best
He knows
friends.
them.
I didn't say anything.
The
What did I say?
AU.
Okay.
Well, they
So,
would the CDC,
I
the
didn't
A.
mention it.
Well, the director should be. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, that's the sort of investment we wanted on a larger scale because pooling of resources together is the only way we're going to fight this. Okay, not this individualistic approach
Yeah.
that we are adopting, which is clearly not helping anybody.
Mm.
Okay, I mean, if you look at, when we are talking vaccines, it's no joke.
Yeah.
There's a lot of money involved. And
Yeah.
even at that, even when you think you are out of the woods, sometimes you develop a vaccine and you take it out, then you start hearing of side effects here and there.
Yeah.
Even with all the money spent on COVID, we are, I
The
mean,
blood clotting and
with AstraZeneca,
feverish
there are
feelings and
I don't
all.
know.
Yeah.
issues here and there popping up.
Mm.
That's how difficult it is to come up with a working vaccine.
And to talk
And-
of that, to talk of that, and people are still not even
Exactly.
certain if they really want
And
to go
even when
for
you
it.
have it, and you probably are certain that even
fine.
it's very fine. It goes into the market, and you have to deal with the situation of vaccine hesitancy.
Yeah.
Where there are a lot of people that are like, I
Yeah.
don't trust the source, and you'd have to do a lot of work on the ground in terms of PR and everything, just so to psych people up. It's no joke, okay? And all that involves money. All
Right.
that involves a lot of not just money, but other resources and everything in terms
Resources,
of
exactly.
personnel and everything. And I think we haven't committed that much into
Yeah.
into finding
Yeah.
the vaccine. And
Yeah.
the reason we are celebrating these these little wins, but well, doesn't mean we shouldn't celebrate. But hey,
We should also do something.
it's
about
better than
it,
none,
yeah.
anyway.
And for me, I just think that cooperation, cooperation amongst African countries would definitely give birth to something like that, because one country alone cannot bear the cost of billions of euros and investing and all of that. We have this big scientific research center in Senegal. I can't recall the name. Then there's this very very world class research center in Senegal. What do you call it? South Africa is
They
there.
don't manufacture the rapid test
I
kits.
think so. Yeah. It's all and Rwanda we can actually and there's this trial that's going to be taking place in Nigeria as well with respect to COVID-19. So you see how individualistic we are in terms of because at the end of the day, I feel we just need that togetherness to be able to come out with solutions such as this. But let me take your final comment, Epi, and then get to Mami so we can wrap it up here.
I hope with each coming of vaccines or stuff, we actually make it a landing point. And we should, like you mentioned, if we come back together, I believe raising the money for such things won't be a problem. But that individualistic thing, let me do for my country, let me do for my government. Let me do for my party, is not helping the continent. It's not bringing about development growth. Nothing. And we can actually learn, but it's a good thing that there is a vaccine that has clocked or chalked such efficacy percentage within just the second stage of trial.
Okay. Mami. Yeah, let's hear you.
Final words.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Epi said, we are glad there's a vaccine
Okay.
that is undergoing trials.
All right.
And hopefully, by the time it by the time it reaches the final stage, it
Okay.
is something that we can use, and it is something that the average African can afford. And while we are waiting for that, can we please strive to keep our environments clean?
Clean, yeah.
Because it is clean. It is unclean environments
Yeah.
that breed mosquitoes.
Mosquitoes, that's true.
So we should take the basic steps that we can take
Right,
to prevent, at least try to minimize
right.
the number of
The breeding,
number of
yeah.
recorded cases of
Okay,
malaria in
of
the country
malaria.
or
Thank
on the
you.
continents that we see.
Okay, so there could be a possibility of a potential, R21 or R21 vaccine phase 3 trials, and that could be starting in Mali, same Burkina Faso, Tanzania, and Kenya. So let's see how that goes. Just have its
So you see what they're doing. So
Yeah.
now they are moving away from the west,
from the west to
east
east.
to the
Yeah.
east.
So let's see how that goes. But I don't think in the Arabian land that we have mosquito there, do we? In Egypt and Tunisia.
Go there and find out.
Thank you very much, guys, for joining me, and of course, giving our listeners such an amazing time on our discussions on.